If you are a fan of sprinting, then you probably know who the biggest names are in the sport. It's Noah Lyles and Kashane Thompson in the 100, and for that matter, you gotta add Lasile Taboho in there because of what he just did in Paris in the 200. But the name Gout Gout has to now go on that list. Not because of anything he did at the Paris Olympic Games, but because of everything that happened after it. The young man is 17 years old, and ever since he lit up the track in Australia, running times that really we've never seen an athlete that age actually put out, he has become a phenomenon. So whenever he actually runs, people pay attention. And I'll be honest, for a long time, and even to some degree still at this moment, I thought that the hype was exactly that. It was just hype. I am a skeptic, but I am not a cynic. And that means I can also admit when I'm wrong. So when Gout Gout hit the track in Australia to run at their under 20 championship event this weekend, I was paying attention. I actually looked up the schedule. Remember, I'm halfway around the world, and I wanted to know when these races were going to go, and I really wanted to see what he was going to do, because I know that even on a weekend where the NCAA championships are going off for the indoor meet, yeah, there's a whole bunch of good performances over there, but people really want to know what Gout Gout is going to do. So I looked at his 100, and of course he ran away with that event. And the times that he ran were very fast for a 17-year-old, don't get me wrong, but they weren't necessarily like world-beating times. Again, even for athletes his age. The high school kids in America are running right now. At least some of them are already outdoors. And they're putting down some incredibly fast clocks. We even have one who broke 10, barely, and it wasn't win legal, but it was close. All that said, when Gout Gout ran the 200, and I'm talking about the prelim, the man just ran a world-leading time outdoors in the 200-meter dash, 20.05 seconds. And I've got to put this in perspective because I didn't expect it and I definitely didn't see it coming. Mathematically speaking, from what he's given us in the 100, and I know he ran 20.04 in the past, but now he just won a prelim, like a preliminary round in an under 20 event in Australia, essentially by over 2 seconds on the entire field. 20.05 when nobody else in the race could even break 22. I'm not making this up. And although I feel like we've seen this movie before, like the movie of a fast young man, doesn't really matter what nation you're from, like Area Knighton is probably the most recent, who took the world by storm and made Team USA, made the Olympic team, made the Olympic final, got 4th in the Olympic final, doing all of this at 17 years old. Well, when he came back 4 years later, or I guess 3 years later, he was still in the exact same place in the Olympic final. He was in 4th place. So after everything we saw with him and his trajectory, you gotta give me a break for being, I don't know, a little bit skeptical, because we've seen fast clocks in the past. But what Gout Gout just did is special for this reason. He figured out how to shock someone like me halfway around the world in a preliminary 200 by dropping a time that, yes, I don't think anybody under those circumstances would do that. It just is what it is. It doesn't even really matter what he does in the final. We know he's going to win the final. I mean, fine. If he's already the world leader, the only thing he can do is break 20. That's about it. That's the only real exciting thing. He could technically run a PR without breaking 20, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, I doubt it. But beyond that, if you focus on the situation at hand, Gout Gout is in a position where the real issue is that there's so much expectation. Remember, the internet wants to know when he's running. I'm not the only one talking about it. Like, other people are talking about it. The internet wants to know, what is he gonna do? Because he's being set up as the next fastest ever. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. We know the man's name is Usain Bolt. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. But people only remember Bolt from 2008 to 2016. They don't remember Usain Bolt in 2007. They don't remember Usain Bolt in 2004 at the Olympics when they didn't even realize he was there. They remember 2008, all the way out in the front, running times that nobody else in the world could run, all the way to 2016, where basically he stayed in the front of the race for 8 years straight. The only time Usain Bolt lost was either in a race that meant absolutely nothing, where he probably wasn't even trying all that hard, but everybody else was giving their best shot. And beyond that, maybe you could count the one time when he false started. That's it. For 8 years straight. It wasn't until like his final meet of his career, 2017, where he was barely beaten at the line. This is a man who had already accomplished everything he ever could in the sport before that moment. That's what Gout Gout is being asked to chase. And for that reason, I'm skeptical, because I don't think it's fair to any young man. I just don't think it's fair to put that level of pressure on the athlete. Gout Gout is himself. He's not the next someone else, he is himself. He's gonna have his own journey and his own trajectory. And he's now in an era where, hey, Bolt might not be in this era, but a whole bunch of other fast men actually are. And they're not gonna take this lion down. Because now that he put this time on the boards, it reminds me of what we just saw from Christian Miller last year, which is a very different narrative, but I gotta bring it up. Because Christian Miller ran the fastest time in the world early in the outdoor season in the 100. And it stood for a while, because a lot of people can't break 10 in the 100, especially not to open their seasons, because they don't train to do it that way. And as far as I understand, Gout Gout has not run a competitive race. Like in the last 3 months or so, he hadn't been running any, because he was running in like November, the way their season is set up, and now we're seeing him come back at this time. If you were paying attention, Gout Gout is now wearing an Adidas uniform while he's out there sprinting, because I believe he is now officially a professional sprinter. So even though he's running in an under 20 championship, I mean, we can kiss that goodbye. Like, that's not really his future. His future is going to be competing with Noah Lyles himself, the same man who he trained with and did a podcast interview, which you might have seen. Like, that's his future. And I mean, like, the immediate future. The same way that Noah Lyles saw what Arian Knighton did a few years ago, when he ran that 1949 200, I believe it was on an LSU track. And Noah Lyles said himself in an interview that he doubled down a little bit in his training. Was like, oh, we got to put in some work if that's what we got to put up with. Gout Gout just sent that type of a warning shot to every serious sprinter in the world, because they know the same thing that I know now. Gout Gout is coming. You can stand aside, get on board, or get run over. I don't know the future of his career. And hey, I've said it before, I don't think it's fair to put the level of pressure on an athlete like him to be the next greatest ever. I feel like we're just kind of setting people up for failure. He can have amazing success without being that. And we've seen the movie before. We've seen young men go fast. We've seen them even, go to a high level. But in this sport, if we're being honest, if you're not in the front of the race, in the eyes of a casual track fan, you might as well be in last the way they remember it. With that level of expectation, people do want to see him all the way in the front of the race at the World Championships, and they probably don't want to wait that long to see it either. They probably want to see it in 2025. He clearly already has enough talent to put himself in that final. The only thing that he's actually got to do now is go out there and prove it. When the lights are on and it is time to perform. Because we already know what Gout Gout can do when he's running by himself over in Australia. And now the rest of the sprinting world has definitely been reminded. Because although I know I've seen this movie before, of a fast sprinting phenom who takes off running some very special times for their age, I will now admit that this sequel just might be better than the original. The sport of track and field is not just about running fast. It is about doing it over and over and over again. Because whenever you step to the line, your reputation is on the line as well. With the wake up, Run Fast and Repeat shirt. You can make it clear that running faster than the competition is a habit. Get yours at searecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.